Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Mango's Void. Today we're on a boat.
Fuck yeah.
We're on a boat because we can be, but also because it's our last day together. Donovan goes back
To hell.
to hell. You don't even have a government right now. Your
No, it's
government
shut
shut
down. The
down.
whole
Are you
thing's shut
Zimbabwean?
down.
Are you an African?
Yes.
Don goes back to New York tomorrow. I will be here.
Mm-hmm.
So we just thought that on our last day, we should spend
Mm-hmm.
our last day on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know,
then, sorry if we get a little ignorant, guys. It's very hard to be progressive on a boat.
it's
Just really hard to care about others. It's really hard to care about systemic.
as you understand.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about intelligence today. Because yesterday we were having a really interesting conversation about intelligence.
Mhm.
Namely, you were asking me, like, what does it really mean to be intelligent? Like, is intelligence just the ability to get what you want out of life?
Mm-hmm.
If you zoom out across human history, you'll notice that the definition of intelligence has evolved as technology evolves.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were cavemen, being intelligent meant being able to secure food,
Mm-hmm.
being able to run away from predators or
Mhm.
protect yourself from predators.
Mm-hmm.
It meant finding a mate
Yes, getting
to
gal.
reproduce, getting hoes, continuing your lineage.
Mm-hmm.
So it was purely survival,
Yeah.
right? But now we're in the 21st century, and I think survival in the 21st century has become so meta. It's become so abstract
Mm-hmm.
that I
Yeah.
would argue that this is the hardest time to be a human, and that we've made society far too hard
Yeah.
for the average person. In the 21st century, intelligence is no longer about being strong, being fast, being wise. It's no longer about survival. It's now about understanding systems. It's about knowing how to play a game. This is what you need to survive in the 21st century, in 2025. First, you need to be a biologist. Just to eat well and be healthy,
Right.
to duck the McDonald's,
Right.
all the ultra-processed foods, the KFC, the deep-fried Oreo McPatty pies. Just to know what to eat in the sea of poison that we're bombarded with, you need to be a biologist.
Yeah.
Second, you need to be a marketer.
Yes.
You need to know how to sell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, you as an individual need to be an ad agency.
Mm-hmm.
Third is you need to be a psychologist and a psychiatrist, by the way.
Yes.
Just to manage your mental health in this dystopia,
Uh-huh.
you need to be a psychologist. Then you need to be a financial analyst.
Right.
Because you need to understand financial systems. Financialization.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get a house, you need to understand finance.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to be a part technologist.
Mhm.
You need to understand AI. You need to understand algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know how to tailor your resume to SEOs
Yeah.
so that when you send a resume in, because it's not about like being qualified for a job, it's about your resume
Yeah.
being able to be matched to the specific keywords
Yeah.
that an AI algorithm is looking for. So
Jesus Christ.
SEO optimization just to get a job,
Yeah.
right? So understanding financialization, being a biologist, being a psychiatrist, just generally being a scientist, you have to do all of that all at once,
Mm-hmm.
because we've engineered a world where intelligence is really not measured by your ability to survive, but your ability to play games created by institutions.
Yes.
So when I think about, a lot of the elder people in our ancestry, in our lineage,
Mm-hmm.
who were considered wise
Mhm.
because they were resourceful, they were smart, they were strong, they would be on the streets because they don't really know how to optimize a LinkedIn profile or how
Right.
to hack an ATS system.
Uh-huh.
And this really brings me to the question of today. Like, have we really progressed? Have we made survival in the 21st century so artificial
Mm-hmm.
that most people are just set up to fail? And if that is the case, is this really progress, or is this just a new form of Darwinism? Is
Mhm.
this just social Darwinism, what we're doing now? Like, does intelligence even help you? What does it mean to be intelligent in 2025?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is the frustration of our time. This
Yeah.
idea of I went to school
Mm-hmm.
and I got really smart
Yeah.
and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
And I'm watching these people who read and write at a third grade level,
Hmm.
go on Instagram and flex their Bugattis while I sit
Yes.
in $200,000 of student loan debt.
Yeah.
And I think that we're adopting a mode of operating with each other that is fundamentally like anti-civilization. Like this
Mm.
era is all about like checking out and eat or be eaten and just everyone lock into your own little thing.
Yeah.
And if you really get down to it, people have adopted social Darwinism as their
Yeah.
main modus operandum, like their main belief system.
Mm.
And the thing about that is, I feel like people don't understand why we survived as a species. People have like a wrong understanding. The reason why we won, the reason why we beat tigers, the reason why we beat bears is because we keep the weak alive, because we
Mm.
have a concept of multiple intelligences, like
Yeah.
B.F. Skinner talked about. Stephen Hawking isn't really that useful when it's time to outrun the lion. He's not
Right.
really that useful when it's time to pitch the tent to stay. But the reason why you keep Stephen Hawking alive, the reason why you keep the skinny, scrawny nerd who's not really that good when it comes time to hunting or gathering alive, is that maybe he'll invent something. The
Mm.
idea that we value different, the idea that we don't have this super hyper specified singular idea of intelligence
Yeah.
is why we won.
Right.
And I feel like the reason why we're devolving as a species is because we've lost sight of that. We feel like if you can't fucking get money, if you're not a big, strong man, if you're not a woman with a snatched waist, you don't have any value. And I've been spiraling a lot lately because as my empire collapses as someone raised in America, I feel like every single core assumption that I've held throughout my entire life
Mm.
is falling apart. You know, I feel like when you say the word intelligent, right? Everyone has a hyper specific idea of what that means, but no one ever defines it. You know,
Right.
when you say the word democracy, people have a very specific idea what that means.
Yeah.
But like you said, I've recently been feeling like the ultimate form of intelligence is getting what you want out of life.
I really think what intelligence means in 2025
Mhm.
is not so much knowing how to get what you want out of life,
Mm.
but knowing what is worth wanting.
Mm.
And that's something that I feel like a lot of people
Mm.
don't have because we're constantly being bombarded by ads
Mm.
and we're being told that we need to want everything. You need to want the latest car. You need
Mhm.
to want a small waist. You need to want a fat ass. You need to want the iPhone 17. You need to want a big house by the beach. And I just think that if we're defining intelligence by knowing how to get what you want out of life,
Mhm.
a lot of people get what they want out of life and
Mhm.
then they like kill themselves or
Mm.
they just, they slowly just sink into a life of misery.
Mhm.
So I think that actually the highest form of intelligence is not only knowing what is worth wanting, it's actually knowing that there's not really much that is worth wanting.
Mhm. That's really
Thoughts?
interesting. I think that something that's really been challenging to me is I feel like growing up, we were given the advice to specialize as much as possible. Go to
Mm,
school for a very specific high value thing, get your master's, master's, get your
yeah.
graduate McMaster's, and in that process, block everything else out. Like literally the
Mm,
advice I was don't worry about relationships, don't
right.
worry about your
Right.
hobbies, don't worry about anything else. Just worry about this hyper specialized thing that you
Mm,
went to school and took out $250,000 of debt to go do. Then AI comes out. And what is
right.
the first thing that it's really good at? Actually hyper specialized knowledge based tasks. And
right.
with all my friends, which I love very dearly and I think are very intelligent in a way that is valuable, they're just so fucking specialized that they're
Mm,
kind of dumb as rocks sometimes. Just when it comes to like
explain.
other things, when it comes to like street smarts, when it comes to dealing with people,
Yeah.
when it comes to maybe like thinking about an opportunity and going, is this an opportunity? Is this a scam? Like
Yeah.
the process of specialization comes with siloing. And siloing detaches you from the rest of the world.
Mm,
And you will end up the best psychopharmacologist ever. You will be the best PhD ever. Do you know how to emotionally communicate in a relationship? Do you know how to be charismatic in an interview? Do
yeah.
you know how to brand yourself? Which, by the way, unfortunately is a very big part of the modern world.
Yeah. It's like most of it,
Right.
honestly.
And that's where I just think we were really played. We were told that specialization was going to be the key to a better life. And it actually seems to be this kind of vague jack of all trades,
Mm,
charismatic brand
yeah.
that actually gets you what you want out of life. And by the way, I'm not happy about all of this. I'm so sad to see people who just know a lot about 12th century Europe in the world. I think those people are valuable.
Yeah.
That being said, I just don't think that's where the world is going.
Right.
And I also think that's why we just miss blatantly obvious things about reality. The process of siloing people, especially in academia puts everyone in their little box, and everyone's just looking at one specific part of the picture.
Mm,
And therefore, no one actually sees the whole tapestry ever. Because the psychologists are looking at this side, the economists are looking at this side, the
right.
anthropologists are looking at this side, and no one sees the large tapestry to see how all of these things are actually interlocking in a very intersectional way. And there's actually large macro narratives that actually explain a lot. And then I've noticed amongst intelligent people, when you try to take a step back and like diagnose some of these macro narratives, because maybe you're being a little bit vague, or because maybe you're being a little bit crass or a little bit obtuse in your ability to diagnose something, they don't view that as intelligent.
Mm,
Trying to take a real general stab about, all right, what's wrong with dating? What's wrong
yeah.
with the economy? What's wrong with, you kind of get what I'm
Yeah. No,
saying?
I
Like,
get what
no
you
one's looking at the full picture
mean.
because of specialization.
Right.
And I feel like that's why we've just created so many big monsters that no one really has any specific idea on how to deal with.
Yeah.
Because we all just went to school to do our little specific things. And anytime someone tries to say something grand, which will always be vague, everyone with their specialized information goes, well, you're actually forgetting about this, or you're actually, and therefore the big problems just don't get solved.
Mm,
And is that intelligent? Is that smart?
yeah. In what ways do you think you're intelligent?
That's a really good question. Um, B.F. Skinner lays out all these different intelligences, social intelligence, creative intelligence,
Yeah.
emotional intelligence. I have absolutely no computational intelligence.
Right.
Another thing that Skinner laid out is spatial intelligence. I'm
Oh.
borderline disabled. You've lived with me, I have no idea where I am at any given time of the
Right.
day. I think not to be, God, you're gonna make me call myself an empath.
Yeah.
Not to be the person who's like, I'm an empath, but I'm very good at emotionally reading a room.
Mm,
And I feel like I'm very good at reading things on a large scale. This is what I really like about being an artist, is you kind
yeah.
of take a stab at like, what are people generally feeling? What
Right.
are the general vibes?
Right.
And I'm very good at having a vision in my head and bringing that thing to life.
Mm,
And I think that the best way to survive in this world is to just try to have as many of those forms of intelligence that Skinner laid out, emotional, social, as you can, because you don't know where you're going to end up.
right.
And I find that a lot of my friends who are underemployed or like struggling to find employment in the specific thing that they went to school for, they just are holding on to this idea of themselves
Yeah.
so firmly that, listen, I hope that works out. But if that
Yeah.
doesn't, you are genuinely too attached to see any opportunity that might fall in front of you.
Mm,
And then the thing about specialization too is, although I know we've attached our self-worth to being like so qualified in this one's field, but I also think it gives you a lot of dread and anxiety, and also makes you undervalue yourself. Because if you just went to school to do this very specific kind of neurology or
yeah.
history or something, you now kind of view yourself as someone who is incapable of doing anything else,
That's what I
which I
struggle with.
same, like, because I spent so much of my life being an artist, I literally had convinced myself that I am unable to do anything else,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that in a world that's this uncertain, you just can't feel that way about
Yeah.
yourself,
No.
you know?
No, I mean, I think my form of intelligence is communication.
Yes. And the consolidation of power.
And the consolidation of power. But it's interesting when you ask the question, is intelligence about getting what you want out of life? Because I'm very bad at getting what I want out of life. I might have this skill, but it's not really gotten me anywhere. Do you think there's something to be said about how intelligence is about knowing how to apply your
Uh-huh.
talents
Yeah.
to get what you want out of life?
Interesting. This is the age old hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's another thing that I find that some of the smartest people I know struggle with. It
Mm,
is their perfectionism. It is their desire to be viewed as the best, smartest boy
yeah.
and get
Yeah.
the biggest, smartest boy prize that makes them, and I'm dragging myself here, really lock into all the details of what they're doing in a very OCD way, and they need everything to be perfect. And that just ends up holding them back. They end up just getting beat by people who have a less romantic attachment to their work, that are able to move lighter on their feet, that are able to make more things. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, sometimes I think that being too intelligent and being too romantic about your career or about the way that you're perceived in the world kind of ties your arms behind your back.
100%.
And that's
100%.
something that I feel like has really stagnated me in my life, that I'm trying to like leave in the
Mm,
past. In a world this rough, you just cannot be too romantic.
Yeah.
about the way that you make your bones
Right.
and about the way that people perceive you. Because the thing that's so funny when you really take like a wide-eyed step back, fully like objective look at humanity, we play all these silly status games with each other.
We really
Like
do.
we really do, you know, whether it be academia, whether it be what neighborhood do you live in, what
Yeah.
we do so much to impress each other in completely irrational ways.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about this, like, if you live in New York, the neighborhood that you live in, like, says so much about you, right? Where it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, do you live in Midtown? Do you live in"
Yeah.
When you're visiting New York for the first time, you're kinda like, "Oh, it's all the same." Like, what
Right.
is the
Yeah.
difference between
Yeah.
living and a lot of people that live in rural areas do not understand the status games that
Mhm.
we play
Yeah.
as, like, city folk.
It's very Hunger Gamesy as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like, all of the language games we play, all of
Yeah.
this is all status signaling. A lot of people's artistic taste is status signaling, like,
Yeah.
"Oh, what movies do you like? What"
Right.
and when you detach from all of that and realize that, first of all, none of that makes you happy, tying your happiness to being perceived a certain way kinda never ends. The second you get perceived that way, now you're friends with higher status people, and then they flaunt their wealth and their status in front of you, so now you want what they have. That
Mm.
kinda never ends. And also, you never wanted it in the first place. You know, maybe you like living in Ridgewood, Queens, and it was
Yeah.
only someone telling you that, oh, if you're rich, you gotta live in Midtown. Maybe, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any way to see your life clearly until you're intelligent enough to think through all of these arbitrary social status games that we play with each other.
Mhm.
And like you said, that's when I think you can actually figure out what you want, which might be the ultimate form of
Mm.
intelligence. It's to deprogram from the rat race. It's to unpack whatever religion you were indoctrinated into. Maybe the ultimate form of intelligence is having an empty mind, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I prefer hanging out with children for this reason.
Yes.
I just much prefer hanging out with kids over hanging out with adults because I find that kids are so smart
Yeah.
in a way that adults could never be.
Hmm.
When you hang out with adults, they're just reading off of scripts
Mm.
that they read on TikTok and social media. It's just so
Basically.
boring.
Yeah, no, it's talking to a large language model.
It's so funny that people think that they'll never be replaced by ChatGPT because ChatGPT is just a big, large language model. And
Yeah.
like, have you guys heard yourselves? You just literally spend your whole day watching TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and
Yeah.
then regurgitating talking points that you heard Charlie Kirk say.
Yeah.
You just People just spend their whole day regurgitating talking points that they hear from their favorite content creators
Yeah.
and call that intelligence, but
Yeah.
they've never had an original thought their entire life. And what I love about hanging out with kids is because they haven't yet
Mhm.
gone to that side of TikTok or Instagram. They're not interested in politics. They just say whatever they really think.
Yeah, they don't know what's woke yet.
They don't know what's woke
Yeah.
and they don't care what's woke.
Yeah.
And that's why they're just much more interesting people to hang out with.
Yeah.
And that is what I think an intelligent being is. It's someone whose mind is empty and
Mhm.
is free, or to the extent that it can be. I'm not sure that you can ever fully empty your mind,
Mhm.
but I think that it's at least the first step to knowing what you want is
Mhm.
emptying your mind.
Mhm. No, I think that there's a form of intelligence that actually isn't covered in Skinner's model, which I think is intuition. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that almost the intention of, and not in like a conspiratorial way, but just the intention of modern society is almost to erode our natural intuition.
Yes.
You know, I think it's to get you to accept things that you know are wrong, get you to deny what you know you need to be like a healthy, happy human being so that
Mm.
they can get you to settle for anything. And what I see in the exact type of person that you're talking about, someone who literally speaks like a large language model. Like you
Yeah.
basically see their outfit and I can tell you every single one of their political
Mm-hmm.
opinions on everything. Is that I feel like they don't have a gut. Like they don't have a gut feeling.
Mm.
I think that when they're presented with stimuli, instead of really allowing themselves to have an emotional reaction to it and be like, damn, how do I feel about that? Like you said, they like roll through a Rolodex in their
Yeah.
head of what is acceptable to say.
Yeah.
Um,
What would Candace Owens think about this?
Right?
Yeah.
Also, how and this is the big one, how what I say will signal my status.
Yes.
You know, how I respond to this. You know, if I respond to this thing in too ignorant of a way, then people are gonna think that I'm low class. I need to have the
Mm.
perfect I feel like I see people do this math in their head, and it's very disturbing because it's like,
Yeah.
am I talking to a person?
No, you're talking to
Um,
an LLM. So you might as well just go talk to ChatGPT then.
right. But I just think like there's a form of intelligence that maybe it's not even intelligence, but it's just gut. And, like,
Mm.
you do this a lot in music where it's like, I have a lot of very talented friends who went to Berkeley, they can play every instrument. But when it comes to putting something out, they'll need to text me or someone else to be like, "Do you like this? Does this work? Does this section work?" And it's like, "What do you think? How do you feel? When the
Yeah.
chorus comes in, how do you feel?" And they've been eroded by that because they're thinking about Spotify, because they're thinking about the algorithm, because they're thinking about how will people perceive me. And I just think enough years of that, you will erode that, like, very sacred human thing of
Mm-hmm.
just having intuition. And then I think that's how we get hit over the head the most. And I do think that is one of the intentions of modern society. Because when no one has intuition, you really can get people to accept anything. If you don't feel like, all right, I don't really like the way that I feel in this one-bedroom apartment. I don't like that I get no light.
Yeah.
I don't like that there's no I don't like that because let's say that one-bedroom apartment is in Midtown, right?
Mm.
And it's a nice area and you're
Yeah.
paying $18,000 a month for that one-bedroom apartment. I think a lot of people will deny that human instinct to be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I actually hate living here." And
Yes,
I was actually
definitely.
happier in Idaho where
Mm-hmm.
for this price I could have got. And I think that a lot of what makes the system function is people denying their eyes, their ears, their
Mm.
feelings, you
Yeah.
know? And who benefits that? Who benefits from the destruction of your instincts? People who want to remake the world in their own image.
Right.
And I think in our age, that's the tech guys, Before it was the finance guys. Before that, it was maybe the kings. This is a very old game.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the biggest threat to humanity, or definitely the biggest threat to our happiness.
Mm.
Letting people corrupt our most base instincts to the point that we don't know what we want and we don't feel like we deserve anything, you know?
Yeah. Who do you think eroded our intelligence? Is it our parents?
Mm.
Is it schools? I mean, it's clearly schools definitely played a huge part of it. But I think the second we hop into the world, parents, especially African parents,
Mhm.
they will beat your personality out of your body.
Yeah,
They will beat every instinct you have
that's very
about, no, because they love it. What will so and so say?
Yes,
What will they say
yes,
when you are dressed like this?
yes.
And I think that the second you're born into this world, you are forced, coerced, cajoled
Mhm,
into being someone that you're not.
mhm,
And it's actually the thing that got me really interested in philosophy as a kid is wondering why humans are so bad at being happy.
mm,
And I noticed that in myself. Like, I feel like I've spent the first 32 years of my life just making mistakes. Like, I
mhm,
haven't made one good decision
mhm,
except for moving back home,
mm.
you know? And I just think that's because my instincts were beaten out of my body,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
I there's no
literally.
reason why it should take me 3 decades to
Mhm,
figure out where I want to live and why.
mhm.
But it did because I was told that, well, you should want to live
This
in
is
the
what I mean,
West.
this is what I mean.
Well, you should want to live in a thriving metropolis like New York.
Yes,
You should want to have a high paying job, a
yeah,
white collar job,
yeah,
or, you should want to be a boss. And every time you're told as a kid that you should want something,
yeah,
you don't allow yourself to actually want what you want.
yeah,
And then you spend the whole rest of your life
mhm,
trying to claw back your identity
yeah,
or what's left of it.
mhm,
And I think our lives are completely stolen from us by these institutions, like the
mhm,
education system,
yeah,
by our parents,
uh-huh,
boomers specifically.
yeah,
And yeah, and this is again why I think I don't really think I don't really think as a species, because let's talk about collective intelligence.
mm,
When you look at the collective species, I don't buy the story that we're an intelligent species. I think bonobos are much more intelligent than
mhm,
us. I think we're probably the dumbest species on this planet. We're dumb as shit.
yeah.
We've destroyed the planet to be miserable.
Yeah.
Like
Do you ever
we've
think about
no,
that?
do
Like,
you
by
think
the way,
about that?
wouldn't climate change make so much more sense if we
Yeah.
were like healthy, everyone lives in a five
Yeah.
bedroom? Wouldn't it make more sense? The
We
fact that we
no.
crashed this shit to all be divorced and work at Lowe's
Yeah.
is actually insane. We should at least
We've
be happy.
we've destroyed the planet for everyone to be lonely, to have no social bonds, to live in ugly, decrepit, polluted cities,
Yeah.
to spend most of our lives at jobs that we hate, to
Yeah.
eat foods that poison our bodies,
Hmm.
to then retire by the point that capitalism has used up your body and thrown you back out,
Yeah.
and then we die.
Yeah.
That
Uh-huh.
is the average human life, and we
Uh-huh.
destroyed the planet to have that life.
Uh,
How is that intelligent? No,
yeah.
explain to me
Uh-huh.
how that is intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Bonobos have been living in perfect harmony with their environment,
Yeah.
and they're happy.
Mhm.
They have great social bonds. They have sex all day.
Mhm.
They eat great food.
Mhm.
They eat fruits mostly. They're
Mhm.
frugivores.
Mhm.
How are we smarter than
Mhm.
bonobos?
You know,
Someone
I think
justify
one
that
of
for
the
me.
reasons why we ended up here, which like you said, is just a genuinely stupid place to end
Yeah.
at. Like we are collectively operating at a kindergarten level.
Yeah.
And the reason why is like I said, anytime someone uses the word intelligence, we're all referring to a very specific thing, but we never define it. And we let the world be run by someone with a very specific kind of intelligence, which
Mm.
is the CEO intelligence. The CEO is never the engineer. The CEO is never even the artist, the person who creates the CEO is someone who's able to tell a good story. He's able to paint a compelling and charismatic image of the future. We both read that new Karen Howe book about AI. OpenAI employee left. She writes this great, really informative book about OpenAI and the way it's ruining the world. And the way that she describes Sam Altman is just as like a good salesman,
Yeah.
Same with Elon, same with all these guys. And I'm not going to be one of those people who's so obtuse to say like that skill isn't valuable at all. Leading large teams of people does kind of take that like quasi psychopathic charisma, rallying the troops.
Yeah.
But that's just like one thing. And by the way, I think that's like one of the worst characters in like all of the different tropes of humanity to
Yeah.
let run things.
Right.
They're always insanely impulsive. They have endless risk tolerance. They have like
Right.
I would much rather the world be run by admin people than even
Yeah.
the CEO. And
Mhm.
I just think we should just question that. And that is where I think that getting what you want out of life, being the ultimate form of intelligence, kind of falls apart
Right.
because there's a Machiavellianness to that is insanely short-sighted. You get what I
Mhm.
mean?
Mhm.
And money doesn't mean much. And also money can be entirely fake, like it is under financialization.
Yeah.
All of these CEO types, the Sam Altman, all of their wealth, one is not really accessible to them at any given moment, but it's based on projections. It's based on the idea that AI is going to go on and change the world. And if AI just ends up being like a really expensive way to send emails and search the internet, then
Yeah.
you're actually not that valuable and you're not
Right.
that
Mhm.
intelligent. So, what I would want to see is a world where we just picked a different personality type to win.
Mhm.
I'd like to see a world run by an admin person, maybe.
Mhm.
I'd love to see a world run by an artist. I think it'd be insanely dysfunctional, but it'd
Mhm.
be funner than this one.
Yeah,
I would just
definitely.
I would just love to see a world where we let a different form of intelligence win.
Yeah.
And I think we're all really exhausted of this one because we
Definitely.
get that this particular type of narcissistic psychopath, let's be honest,
Yeah.
they're not really good at making a plan.
Mhm.
They're insanely short-sighted. They're insanely impulsive, and they also take risks a lot of us don't want to take.
Right.
Like a lot of us don't want to take this risk of AI,
Yeah.
and we all just have to now.
Right.
Yeah,
What form of intelligence do you think humanity needs to get through the 21st century
that
to
is
the
a great one.
22nd century?
That is a really great issue. You know, And it's just I'm thinking about what Helen Zilla said, which by the way, Helen Zilla is this she's a cartoon of a Karen in
Yes.
America, and
Yeah.
she is a South African politician,
A
a
white South African
yes, sorry, excuse
politician.
me.
Yes.
A brutal beast of a person.
Yes.
And she's running to be the mayor of Johannesburg, this majority black city. And she said something about the president of this country, Cyril Ramaphosa, which I thought was interesting, which is that he is just not a leader for hard times. Which,
Mhm.
although I hate this woman and despise everything she stands for, I think that was a good assessment.
Yeah.
And I do think that is our issue right now. We do not have leaders for hard times.
Mhm.
And it's because I think a lot of our leaders are either the CEO guy, the person with the big ideas, but, small execution, or they're like these consensus builders. We have a certain sense of intelligence that the only thing that matters is diplomacy.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is being smart enough to get everyone to shake hands at the end of the day, even if you're shaking hands with a Nazi.
Hmm.
And I think the form of intelligence that is needed now is some combination of the artist and the admin, because we need bold new ideas. There
Yes.
is no reforming of any of the ideas that we've tried as a species so far that is going to get us anywhere. And I need people to understand that. Like, no matter what you believe, if you're some insane, most things have been tried and have failed.
Mhm.
And we
Mhm.
actually need brand new ideas. But having ideas is nothing without execution. And
Yeah.
quite frankly, like the artist class is often really bad at executing things.
Yeah. You guys are very
So,
unstable.
yes, very unstable.
Yeah.
So we need some combination of a world run by artists and admins at this point. The
Mhm.
CEO, rock star Tony Stark figure, that guy's gotten us nowhere.
Yeah.
The consensus builder, Barack Obama, Cyril, let's sit down and talk that guy's gotten us nowhere.
Yeah.
We
No,
need
definitely.
bold ideas and we need execution.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that humanity needs to get together, sit around at a big table, and decide what is worth wanting right
Mm,
now. Because we thought that, and people still think this actually, that what is worth wanting is things,
mm-hmm,
you know? And in my opinion, the only things worth wanting are things that are sustainable and long lasting. So
mm,
that's connection. Human connection is worth wanting.
mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, I think that's about it because everything else is fleeting
Yeah,
and temporary. And if you want things that are temporary and transient, you will end up in McDonald's. You will
yeah,
end up disappointed.
mm-hmm,
And I think once we decide that we want more human connection,
mm-hmm,
we should then get, as you say, artists
mm-hmm,
to create the vision for that world. Then we get the admin person to execute on that vision.
mm-hmm.
And they find the right people to do it. And then we get skilled people to put it together.
Yeah. No,
And that's
absolutely.
it.
I think it's a term that I've heard used that I really agree with, that we live in the slow cancellation of the future. We
Mm,
are recycling all of the same artistic movements, musical movements, political ideologies over and over and over again. And they're
yeah.
not working
Yeah.
because not only did a lot of them not work in the past, but they're certainly not suited for this time.
Right.
And
Right.
the problem is that, like, we've actually lost the ability to make new things. And then oftentimes, kind of like we talked about in the last episode, is when we make new things, people get really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When people show you a design for a new city, there's like fear. It's like, oh, it's good. And like, we have to resist the slow cancellation of the future. And a lot of that comes, unfortunately, with resisting nostalgia.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not going to lie, I love nostalgia. A lot of my art is very nostalgic, but I see the problem with it. I,
Mm,
I I see the connection between nostalgia and fascism. I see the way that things that make us feel warm and comfortable are actually the same things entrackling us to repeat the same mistakes of the past.
yeah.
So I think that if we're going to be led by different people, we also have to accept that, like, there's going to be some shit that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Or we're going to have to let people cook. There's going to be some
Yeah.
trial and error. Not
Yes.
everything's going to work.
Yeah.
And we just have to be patient enough to sit through that because it's
Absolutely.
going to be uncomfortable. There's no making anything better without, as Xi Jinping, my king, said, eating bitterness.
Yes.
And this
It's
is
time to
also
eat
something
bitterness.
that, like, I think in the West, or even here in Africa with governments that are a lot less honest with us compared to China, for example, we need to get more comfortable.
Yeah.
She got right on the TV and said, hey guys, it's time to eat bitterness.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
got to lock in here.
Yeah.
There's a tough road ahead.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if a Western politician said that? Can you imagine if because we don't want the truth.
Yeah.
And when people want the impossible, only liars can satisfy. And I think that in order to accept a new world, we would have to be a bit more comfortable eating some bitterness,
Yeah.
being a bit more patient, maybe planting some trees that you're never going to sit in the shade of.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't get better in your lifetime. That's
Mhm.
another thing that people need to, whether it be people who fought for like civil rights in America or the end of apartheid here, the only reason it happened is because they gave up on the fact that it was ever going to even happen in their
Yeah.
lifetime,
Yeah.
which I feel like we're severely lacking.
Yeah.
I feel like people want
Definitely.
everything now, and anything that could be given to you now kind of sucks. But I
Yeah.
think that we just need a more long view of things. And
100%.
most people who fought to change the world died in darkness
Yes.
and died not seeing any of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of dark, but I think that's true.
No, I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So, guys, there we have it.
Yeah.
Intelligence. Are humans getting dumber?
Mm.
Let us know what you think. Are humans getting dumber? Are we getting smarter? And what do you guys think is
Yeah.
intelligence?
And who should run the world next?
Who should run the world?
Yeah.
Again, don't forget to subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to this channel and this Patreon, hit that subscribe button.
Yeah.
We need the support.
Uh-huh.
If you are subscribed and if you are a patron, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And we're gonna keep up, and the next time we'll be on a hot air balloon.
The next listen.
Fuck it. We might be
Yeah.
in the Maldives.
Yeah.
Keep subscribing. We don't know where it's gonna take us.
Exactly.
You
So
know?
if you've enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to our Patreon. There's more unhinged, uncensored content on there.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.